Hi, everybody. At one point in time or another, I think all of us have been there where we fall off the wagon in terms of maintaining our spiritual practice, whatever that is for you, whatever that means for you. It could be your daily yoga routine or multiple times weekly, however many times you do it, your alternate nostril breathing, your shadow work, your purging exercises, your chakra activation, whatever it is. And the reason for that typically is because life problems come up. And this is a persistent challenge to the seeker, right? The person who's trying to enrich and enlighten their lives through these spiritual practices. And I think that one of the reasons why this is such a problem is because you have actually two schools of thought which within the disciplines of yoga, right? So you have the Vedic school and you have the Tantric school, and the Vedic school of thought regards Maya, your physical experience, to be at best mundane and at worst evil, just something that you're to ignore. So that school of thought doesn't regard the trials and issues in your daily life to be important. If you're struggling with these existential issues, such as what do I do with my life? I'm having trouble finding what I'm passionate about. I don't know myself well enough. I'm struggling with relationship issues, money issues, and so on. The practices or prescriptions of almost willful ignorance, like ignore the problem and distracting yourself, doesn't matter. In the those whole disciplines of brahmacharya, right? Willful renunciation of worldly pleasures, willful renunciation of money. Just if you go all the way with this, as many monks of yoga do, right? Committed monks, they commit to poverty and living off of the charity of others and so on. So, literally speaking, this school of thought regards these problems as to be unimportant. An American yogi who was a disciple of Yogananda before he, in the Self-Realization Fellowship, before he went on to do his own thing, which was Kriyananda. You listen to his lectures. He said repeatedly, "It doesn't matter what you do." That's directly from this school of thought, right? That it doesn't really matter. You're supposed to ultimately become a renunciant and renounce worldly pleasures, wealth, just live off the bare minimum, and seek God, because your physical material existence and all the problems and all the issues and pain and questions that we have and all these existential issues that you and I are struggling and suffering with on a daily basis are regarded as a deception, a veil of Maya that you're supposed to ignore. So when it's not too surprising when you're faced with a real world issue and it's right in your face. You have a work problem, you're not sure what to do with your life, you have a relationship issue or a health issue or whatever. It's very difficult to just ignore that and go back to focusing on your yoga or your spiritual practices. However, there's another school of thought that regards the physical experience as important, as just as important as any other. And these questions of physical life, having a relationship, having money, are not only encouraged but should be embraced as equally as spiritually meaningful as anything above and beyond the material world. And that is the Tantric school, which we commonly in the West associate with some notion of kind of like lovemaking or something like, and that's really very sad that that's the limited understanding of the reputation that Tantra has come to have in the West, just because those were the first books written about it. And as usual, a lot is lost in translation. There's some evidence to suggest that the Tantric sutras are older than the Vedic, that they actually are, the original approach to yoga, and that outlook, that applied mystical outlook to Hinduism, is actually older than the Ashramite and the Vedic school. But in this tradition, Maya, in particular, the schools of Moksha Yoga and so on, regard Maya to be real, not to be illusory, but to be real, just as any other experience. And these these worldly concerns that we have. What do I do with my life? What should I do with the mental and emotional issues that I have? What should I do with my career? And what should I do with seeking enjoyment of life and my relationships and so on? Are actually should be spiritually sublimated. They should be regarded as spiritually important questions, and the quest to solve them can be regarded as spiritually important. Hence, that was one idea, I think, that the West, being in our kind of more traditional aspect that we regard, that sexuality as kind of bad or a shameful thing, that this was actually something, instead of something to renounce, as prescribed in the Brahmacharya protocol. In the tantric schools, this is something that can be sublimed, right? So you can actually take this act with your partner and turn it into an enlightenment enriching experience, and you don't have to renounce it to have that enlightenment. You can embrace and accept and elevate your physical experience, which was, I think, a really mind-blowing concept to Westerners when those concepts were introduced. And these became kind of very popular in the 60s, right, when Eastern schools of thought were really making inroads into the hippie culture and things like that. And the Western mind just kind of fixated and misinterpreted many things, including Tantra. So when you say Tantra to someone, it's just, oh, that's like Kama Sutra or something like that. It's like, no, it's a whole outlook. So long story short, you do your practices now. When has this ever been framed to you in this way? You do your yoga practices not to ignore or distract yourself from the problems that you have in life, but to get yourself into an aligned, healthier state where you can solve your problems from your healthiest self, from your most aligned self. Because what do people who act out, people who have internalized emotional pain, what do? That becomes a part of what Eckhart Tolle calls a pain body, means it's integrated into their ego, and they're lashing out and acting out from that place. All addiction, all abusive behavior, and self-abusive behavior comes from that. So if you can get to that place of mindfulness, if you can practice observing your thoughts, then you can realize, oh, that's not me. I don't have to act out from that place. Or you don't know what to do with career. Well, you can get all kind of spun up in your own thoughts and your own fears and your own ego and chase all kinds of rabbits down rabbit holes of going and pursuing money, and I'm going to do this and that. But until you get to that spiritually aligned place, you are not going to make the right decisions. And part of that is having your energetic cores, your chakra systems, functioning, not all blocked up. So we say, come from the heart or act from the heart. Your heart chakra should be functioning well. Courage, if you feel that you're lacking in courage, that's your Manipura, right? Your Manipura chakra. That's you have no guts, right? It's the chakra system is such a part of our experience that it's actually embedded in our language. Even in the English language, we know that guy has no guts. He has no backbone. Well, there's a chakra at the base of the spine. When I was really doing this, my personality became healthier, and I began to stick up for myself more. And at one time at an office, a place that I had worked at, I spoke up for myself very aggressively, and I felt that chakra just light up in the small of my back, my backbone, right? So instead of seeing this as something you might do or might not do, but it's immaterial to the problems of your daily life, just remember this is more of your lighthouse. Your practices, your Kundalini yoga practices, are what are going to keep you aligned so that you can make decisions from your best self, your place of your best self, and solve your own problems from that place. That's where your answers lie, to solve real world problems. And this is a more of a tantric perspective. It's a more of a worldly perspective that accepts and embraces your material existence as significant, meaningful, and important. So that's why I've incorporated that here. If you like what I have to say, please like and subscribe. I have lots more coming, and let me know what you think in the comments below. And thanks so much for your time. Have a great day.